And we're going to start with you, Santino. What do you bid on the DVD? What do you bid?
I would like to actually buy a vowel, please.
You want a vowel? You've been body slammed too many times. What do you mean a vowel? That's the wrong show. There's no Vanna White here. There's no Pat Sajak here. There are no vowels here. Give me a bid on that DVD.
You know, we were talking also, passings and all of that. Let's not forget Bob Barker, longtime host of The Price is Right, known for his infamous appearance on Monday Night Raw going back to 2009. He even won a Slammy Award, best host of all time and all of that, right? He passed away as well. It was a day after the news of Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda. And Bob Barker passed away at the age of 99. And, I know for our younger listeners that's out there, may not be too heavy into the game TV shows and all of that stuff. But let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. If you were a product child of the 80s or even 70s, you grew up watching The Price is Right. And it was mainly because of your parents, or your auntie or your grandpa or your grandma. It was one of those type of scenarios, but typically Price is Right was going to be playing. I know for me, when I was growing up, it would be a case where if I didn't have school for that respected day or a couple of days, maybe I was out on summer break, winter break, spring, whatever, then I'd be kicking back at home with my mom. And I'm able to watch like all this really cool stuff. And Price is Right was one of those shows that I had gravitated towards early on as a kid. And it's just something that had stuck with me personally. Even when I would go and visit my grandmother, I'd visit my auntie or, see my grandpa. Price is Right. It was always there, always freaking there. So, it's a different world now in 2023 and beyond. But way back when, before the drive to, hey, resume your degree, or, hey, you can go do this, or there used to always be something on television, mornings, afternoons. The lineup way back when in the day. I remember after your local morning news was over and done with, you went into a couple of hours of TV game shows. And then after that, it would usually be, I would say, a 2 to maybe a 3 hour block of TV game shows. And then after that, depending on where you lived, you may get a 30-minute block of early afternoon news. But then after that, you would get about 3.5, sometimes 4 hours of soap operas, believe it or not. And the target audience way back when, the way that they had everything designed, it was all about, hey, for you stay-at-home moms, right? The ones that are taking care of the kids, you're taking care of the house, you're doing the laundry, you're doing all of this. Hey, check this out, right? The programming was catered towards them. That was the main audience. And I tell you what, Bob Barker and Price is Right, that distinctive voice, that charm, that freaking swag that he had. Dude was freaking cool as I don't know what, man. He just had this presence and aura about him. It was something that I never saw before. And we definitely aren't going to see that again because I think longtime Price is Right fans will definitely agree with me. Drew Carey, hey, no shade to Drew, but Drew does nothing for me. I hate to say that. Drew does nothing for me. They're just, there's nothing. I remember a couple of times he would get me chuckling when he would make fun of the way certain prizes that were up for grabs would be introduced, because sometimes you would see something like, hey, popcorn, right? And then the next prize, it would be a treadmill. And then maybe after that, some type of a blood pressure checking device. And Drew would make some funny little, that would definitely make me pop. But he stopped doing that. I don't know if maybe it was a thing where he heard from the sponsors, hey, you got to stop doing that. That's not really, and I got to tell you, this crazy journey that I have been on these past couple of years, majoring in broadcast media and everything, I can't help but wonder if people like Bob Barker, hearing that distinct voice, that iconic voice. And it wouldn't be until years later and everything that I learned that, wow, Bob Barker, he got his start in basically journalism, right? He was doing radio for a bit. And then I'm trying to remember what else he did, but he was involved with broadcasting early on. We all know about his military background and everything, but he had jumped before he became a game show host and all of that. He was dipping a little bit into the broadcasting field. He even did radio for a bit, long before he even got the game show gigs. Right. I just can't help but wonder when I think about the journey that I'm on currently, the journey that I've been on all these years. I can't help but think of guys like Bob Barker, the Howard Sterns, and right. I just can't help but wonder if somehow all of those cats influenced me to the position where I am now. And now that the finish line is just right around the corner, I can't help but wonder that. Of course, Bob Barker, he loved the ladies. He loved the freaking ladies. I mean, we got to keep it 100. That man stayed flirting with some pretty women. I can't tell you how many times in the past I used to watch an episode of Price is Right. And you knew when Bob Barker was feeling somebody. You knew when because Bob had good taste. You knew that when Bob really was liking somebody, he would try to figure out a way to, and the way he would do it, come on down here. Yes, you're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Yes, so how are you doing? Lovely lady. Don't you want to give old Bob a kiss? He would do some type of, and then the hand gesturing, right? He would try to get a touch in there, not grab their butt or anything, but you just knew when Bob had found somebody attractive. You just knew. It was very, very established versus some big, fat, 300-pound woman running down the joint, and you can just see the living fear of God in his eyes. He didn't want to be bothered by them. It was some of the most hilarious stuff. That episode of Monday Night Raw where he was the guest host, that's definitely something all-time greatest moment, something I still think about. There's two, when I look back on that whole era of Raw guest hosts, we can all be in agreement. There were some really, really bad ones. The worst one of all for me. Now, if you want to say, well, what about, you would have to throw it at me and I'll give you an honest answer. I may tell you Nah, that wasn't really as bad, right? But if you were to poll me right now and say, Lee, what was for you the worst Raw guest host, celebrity guest host? Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was the worst one. And this was way before Kevin Hart really blew up. Really blew up. His appearance on Monday Night Raw was really, really bad. I did not like the fact that he did not take some type of time beforehand to at least watch the previous week's episode and get familiar and all that. I remember, this is how bad it was. I remember myself, Tams, and a couple of other people that were in earshot of hearing me pick the brain of Mick Foley's when he did DC Improv out here some years back. Because one of the things, it was after the show was over and Noelle was at the table by his side. She pretty much was letting us know, hey, this is the spread, this amount will get you this will get you that, what would you like? She would collect the money, you take the item, and then you would go get it autographed by Mick and everything. And I remember asking him, because I knew he would always watch Monday Night Raw each and every single week. And I asked him, what did he think about Kevin Hart's appearance on the show and everything? And he threw it back at me. He wanted to know what I thought about it first before he commented, and I told him, and other people had heard, what I said, and they heard the question, they chimed in as well. And, Mick, to his credit, very, very gracious. He didn't try to take any shots at Kevin Hart. The way he justified it, he just said, hey, look, for him, it was obviously just a gig, something that he could really use to his advantage to promote his own brand and all of that. That's really what it's all about. And it's kind of like, yeah, you got a point there, but we could tell by his body language, like he didn't want to throw Kevin under the bus, but he definitely agreed with us. You could tell that that wasn't exactly, that good. So Kevin Hart, I would say, was the worst one. Best one for me, it still holds up to this very day, is definitely Bob Barker. Honorable mention, I'm trying to think. See, I remember William Shatner doing the whole Raw theme songs and everything, but I'm trying to remember if he actually hosted. And for the love of me, I cannot picture any segment involving him as the Raw host. All I can think about is that iconic moment where he's doing the little song renditions and all of that. So kind of interesting. But yeah, Bob Barker, rest in peace. Look, 99 years old. He passed away from natural causes, went out in his home. You got to admit, that's a good way to go out. That is a nice long run. That is a hell of a way to go out. 99 years old. Damn good run. So a lot of passings this week, man. A lot of passings this week.
I just can't believe it.
We certainly appreciate the support.